Hello, grade 8s. Welcome to the section 8.4 video, where we will be talking about dividing integers. It's so exciting that you just can't wait to find out how. Integers? That's how you spell it. Okay, so last time we went over multiplying integers, and we looked at using some integer chips to show we do that. We're not going to do that today because dividing with integer chips, I think, is just way too confusing for it to really be worth it. So last time we learned some rules. Now I've written out the rules here, but now I've just actually added division. So division and multiplication of integers is great. They each follow the same rules. Where that is, if you have a positive being multiplied or divided by a positive, you get a positive. So positive multiplied divided by a positive is equal to positive. If you have a negative multiplied or divided by another negative, the answer is positive. So if you have two of the same, two positives or two negatives, the answer is going to be positive. If you have two different signs, so if you have a negative being multiplied or divided by a positive, those are two different, positive and negative, your answer is negative. Or if you have a positive multiplied or divided by a negative, so it doesn't matter what order it happens in, if you have one of each, your answer is negative. Okay, so looking at that, we can have these four problems here, and they're all 15 divided by 3. And so we know the absolute value, we're going to always be going 15 divided by 3, which we know is 5. So it's 5, 5, 5, 5. So the absolute value, which means the answer, not looking at positives and negatives, is 5 for all of them. Now we just need to figure out what the sign is. So the first one, positive and positive, we know that's just normal division, makes a positive. So that answer is positive 5. A positive and a negative, one of each, gives us a negative. So positive 15 divided by negative 3 is negative 5. A negative and a positive is one of each, is also going to be negative. And a negative, when you have two of the same things, your answer is positive. Okay? Pretty simple. I think this is going to be a pretty quick video. So you just do the division with the numbers, ignoring the signs. You can find your answer, and then you just look at the signs to determine whether your answer is positive or negative. So some examples. You have negative 18 divided by positive 6. We can ignore the signs for a second. What is 18 divided by 6? Or how many times does 6 go into 18? Well, hopefully you can sort of know your multiplication tables. Well, 6 times 3 is 18. Therefore, 18 divided by 6, 6 goes into 18 3 times. Is the answer positive or negative? We have a negative and a positive, one of each. So the answer is negative. And there's our answer. You may have noticed I didn't put little brackets around these. You actually don't have to put brackets around them all the time. You won't always see them with brackets. They're just often put with brackets in, just so that you don't confuse an addition sign with a positive sign or a subtraction sign with a negative sign, but they won't always have it. Okay, so our next question right here, we'll call this number 2. Number 2 is positive 35 divided by negative 7. I just think, what's 35 divided by 7? Well, 7 times by 5 is 35. So the answer is 5. 7 goes into 35 5 times. Is it positive or negative? Well, there's one positive, one negative. So the answer is negative. There's our answer. And lastly, number 3, negative 55 divided by negative 11. 55 divided by 11 is 5. It's a negative and a negative, so the answer is positive. Okay. Really simple rules. Division, exact same rules as multiplication. So hopefully it doesn't get too complicated. Here's an interesting one. So we have negative 3 and we're dividing by negative 4. So now we're saying, how many times does negative 4 go into negative 3? Well, you all know that 4 can't even fit into 3 one whole time. But I just want to do these just to emphasize that division is the same thing as a fraction. So we can actually rewrite this as negative 3 divided by negative 4. But when we have a negative and a negative being divided by each other, they actually essentially cancel out, and your answer is positive. So negative 3 divided by negative 4 is actually positive 3/4, which is how many times negative 4 would go into negative 3. Negative 4 would go into negative 3 3/4 times. So this would be our answer still, and we can just show it still. When we have it in a fraction form, we're actually just still showing that division problem. But that is in simplest form. So if we have negative 8 divided by positive 12, that's the same as negative 8. We can show division as a fraction divided by positive 12. Negative 8 divided by positive 12, our answer is going to be negative, and we can actually simplify these. Both of these are able to be divided by 4, so we could simplify this fraction. So since the answer is negative, because there's a positive and a negative, we can put the negative in front of our fraction symbol, if you'd like, and we get 8 divided by 4 is 2, 12 divided by 4 is 3. So the answer of negative 8 divided by positive 12 is negative 2/3. Okay, so just looking at it, we're not going to do too many with fractions right now, but just letting you know that this can be done, and that division, just a reminder, division is the same as a fraction symbol. And so we can show division using a fraction symbol as well. Okay, and just remembering when there is more than just two numbers being multiplied or divided, we're really just looking and seeing, is there an even or an odd number of negatives? Because if there's an odd number of negatives, your answer is going to be negative. So when we look at this first one, 24 divided by, or negative 24 divided by negative 2, well, 24 divided by 2 is 12. It's a negative and negative, so that's positive, positive 12. But now we're having to divide still by negative 3, so we're working from left to right. Negative 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. But since it's a positive and a negative, the answer is negative. Okay, so the answer here was negative 4, and we looked and we had 1, 2, 3 negatives. So if you have an odd number of negatives, your answer is going to be negative. Now when we go through and do them one at a time, we see that it will be negative because we got a positive first, and then we divided by a negative to get a negative. Okay, let's look at this next one. We have 100 divided by 2, divided by 5, divided by 2. There are 2 negatives. When we see that there's 2 negatives, I know that my answer is going to be positive. Okay? Whenever there's an even number of negatives, your answer is positive. If there's an odd number of negatives, your answer is negative. So 100 divided by 2 is 50. Divided by 5, 50 divided by 5 is 10. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So my answer is positive 5. I could do that all in my head if we broke it down. Negative 100 divided by positive 2 is negative 50. Negative 50 divided by negative 5 is equal to negative 50, negative 5, so it's going to be a positive. Positive 10. Positive 10 divided by this positive 2, well, positive and positive and positive. 10 divided by 2 is positive 5. So if I write it all out, I still get the same answer. Because there's 2 negatives, it's a positive. An odd number of negatives, it's going to be negative. Okay, so that's the basics of dividing. There will be an assignment on Google Classroom. So make sure you check what that is and turn that in. Turn in your assignment on Google Classroom, even if you don't attach anything, because you're just going to be doing that Google form and maybe some other things on Mathletics and stuff. But still just click turn in just so I know when you're done and I can go check your Mathletics assignments and check your Google form and know that you have done everything. I will be on the Google Meet if you have questions on Thursday, and otherwise you can email me at any time and I will probably write you back. But I hope you're having a good day. I will talk to you later. Grade 8s.